Welcome to Jason's Shop. Shop finds a Shopsmith Greenie with all the cool attachments like the jointer, the jigsaw, and I'm going to show you how to go about restoring one of these today. Basically, we're starting out here by putting the bottom rails on. There's bottom rails and top rails. There is another Shopsmith over there that is disassembled. That Shopsmith I'm having a hard time with. There's something wrong with the speed tension control, and I'm still working on it. But this one here, presumably, has a speed tension control. It's okay, and it's this kind of was made in the 1960s, probably the early 60s. And if you switch it on, it does not work. So there's probably something wrong with the motor. It probably needs a good oil bath, and we'll give it one. But we'll get it back together. Now, first of all, I want to show you the method of attaching these things. It's a clamp that is kind of pyramidal or trapezoidal in shape. And it's attached by these screws on both ends. And I've only got one end hooked up now. But we're going to put this thing back together, and then we're going to come over here, and we're going to pull this motor out, and we're going to test it and see what the problem is, because I think the motor should probably be okay. I have another Shopsmith motor. There it is, right there, and that came out of this one. And honestly, that motor there was a little bit played out, but I think this one probably will be okay, hopefully. And we will look about getting that all back together. And I'll show you some cool stuff to do on the Shopsmith. And we'll get into the jointer and the jigsaw and see how that works. And so that should be really fun. I'm excited also. I picked up this Gigantomundo Craftsman saw, and it's got a cast iron table on it. And this is a beast. And it already works. I know because I turned it on last night. Now, well, we'll just go from here. Okay, I had to disassemble this Shopsmith to get it here. And as you can see, we're putting the base together. Now, I'm going to let you watch me put this on down here. On this Shopsmith over here, as you can see, all the rails, the bottom rails, which really don't do anything except support the unit, and the top rails are the same color and texture. This one has two different kinds. These are kind of a grayish steel coating, and these are stainless steel. The stainless steel ones are the runs. That's the one that the machine travels on and where most of the work will be done. So we are down here and we're putting these clamps on. I highly recommend standing this thing upside down to do this. It's much easier. Okay, here we are in our grossly limited space. I've already got the clamp hooked up. It's just two screws in this. And we're going to raise this up and put these in here, like so. Now, one thing I want to stress here is you don't want these things going all the way back. One, they cover up these holes here. And two, you want as much travel on your bed as possible. So about maybe 1/4 of an inch on each side. And you can adjust it. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and get a wrench and tighten these things down, and then we'll flip it up. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to fit the bedways pipes in here, and they need to be able to bottom out to the bottom, so we might have to tap on them with a rubber mallet, but we'll go over here, and they're leaned up against the bandsaw here, and we'll go ahead and see if we can put one of those in there. It's not going to travel all the way to the bottom, I can tell you that. So, well, maybe it did. Okay, all right. See about the other one. And here we go. It didn't seem like it went all the way down. No, if you look up here, it's a little taller. So we'll get those adjusted. Okay, here we go. We're all set. I had some trouble getting this one here in, and if you do, you can always spray some WD-40 on the pipe and in the hole. If you can't get it out, spray some WD-40 around it, and it will help you get it out. But anyway, it's probably a good idea to WD-40 these before you can put anything on. Next, we're going to put this locking collar here on, and this will slide down here and lock the Shopsmith in place. This has two Allen or hex nuts on there that will secure it in place. So we just have to position it to where this bar here will lock it. And we've gone about as far as we can. That is the complete base setup. So we're all set up here with our Greenie on the base, and we're going to switch to the head motor. Okay, I've got the collar here on, and it is made to bottom out here, but it has to be able to, be locked by that thing. So you might have to pound it back and adjust it a little bit like I did. Okay, I've got the this locking collar here on, and as you can see, it's made to bottom out in these pipes, but you might have to adjust it a little bit to accommodate this screw here, because as you can see here, it's not quite meeting that locking screw. Also, this isn't lined up. So what we need to do is go back here and loosen the bolt on this side and slide it this way just a little bit to where it will line up perfectly with that. We want accuracy in the Shopsmith. The Shopsmith is a very accurate tool. So we're going to do that now. And as soon as I get all that done, I'm going to tighten these hex bolts under here, and we're pretty much finished with the base. Okay, everything is adjusted now. As you can see, that fits down there nicely on that, and all I did was I undid one screw and I kind of jiggled it a little bit, and this thing just kind of slipped into place. Then I took the dead blow mallet and tapped on it until it fell down, around the bolt. And this bolt here is adjustable, so if it won't, this clamp here will not close once we tighten our hex nuts, we can adjust it a little bit. But this is right on as it is. So we're just about finished. I'm going to go ahead and bring this all the way up and tighten those bolts up there. Okay, stupid me, I have to put all the stuff on here before I put this on here. But as you can see, when we get to this step, this thing here, should be a little bit of tightness there, because that's supposed to clamp really tight. But anyway, that's where we are, and it's going to work really good. So now let's switch our attention over here to the headstock. I cannot tell you just how totally jazzed I am and excited, about working on this thing. This is, I've wanted one of these for a long time, an old Greenie Shopsmith. Now, this will not work right now. You flip the switch here, and if it's plugged in, nothing happens. Well, generally that is a minor problem. It has to do with continuity in the electrical lines. It has to be a closed circuit, and somewhere there's a wire snapped or something's not right. Common culprits are the switch, or maybe one of the connections in the motor, where the cord meets the motor has broken loose. Also, the cord could have went bad. So we're going to test all these things, starting with the cord. This Shopsmith headstock is not very complicated, really. Now, there's a speed control tensioning mechanism in there, and I'm not going to touch that, because that was what the mistake I made on that one over there. Okay, anyway, there's 5 bolts that hold this tray, which the motor sits in, and down here, as you can see, there's a little air inlet, and also that's a debris exit to where debris can fall out and stuff. And these 4 bolts here attach the motor in place. So we're just going to remove those and take the cover off, take the motor out, disconnected from the switch, and then we are going to begin running our testing on it. And as I said, this is an old machine. We're going to go through and we're going to oil the motor and we're going to run the bearings. Once we get it running, we're going to listen to them. I can already tell that this up here is going to need some, well, actually, yeah, it's going to need some oil. But we're going to get it in ship shape. Okay, here we are, and we've got the motor out. Now, the very first thing you want to test for is continuity. Now, I kind of know the problem with this motor. Two of these leads were just laying without being connected. And so I went through and tested everything, but I'm going to show you how to do this. Now, your motor leads are easy to find because they're the ones that go from here. You can't really see it, but they go into the motor. The cord leads are in the cord, okay? So we'll test the cord first. Basically, you can grab your cord, and you'll take, generally I set this on 20,000 ohms. I'm just going to loop this through there, and then I'm going to touch it to one of the leads. Now, on one of them, it will not respond because it's the opposing lead. But let's see, nothing there. But when I touch this one, oh, come on. Play ball. Oh, wait, I had it on the wrong one. Okay, so let's touch it to this one. Okay, I'm going to loop or stick this through here. All right, and hopefully you can see. Of course, learn how to use a multimeter. It should zero out, and that means no shorts. So we're going to loop this through here. We're going to touch one of these. Okay, that is the right one. That means there's continuity. Now, let's touch the other one. Nothing, okay? So we should get the same result on this. Nothing on that one, but... Luke, come on. Mailman's here. Now, for some reason, I'm not getting any continuity on this. But, hold on. Let's go back here. Continuity anywhere, and that's weird. Hang on. Okay, that's 0. This one should be right on it. I'm not getting any continuity at all on that. Oh, there we go, okay. All right, 0 on that one, nothing on that one. Nothing on that one, and a bunch on that one. So our cord works, okay? So now we want to check the continuity of the motor. So what you do is you find the two leads going into the motor and do the same thing to them. Okay, there's now, it should read 0. If it reads any kind of number at all, it means you kind of got a short in here somewhere. So the power is being sucked out somehow. Now, the second thing we want to do is test for grounding in the motor, or third thing, I guess. So we place our probe on one of these and we touch the body of the motor several different places, and it should not read anything but that one there, which means open complete circuit. Basically, according to the multimeter, our motor is totally good. But to test it, well, also our switch, we can test the switch too. So the switch, I believe, is in the off position. So we just grab, you kind of have to know which terminals, yeah. So one, it's open, then we close it. Boom, it's off. And these are the open ones. These here, these two are always open because that's just the way a switch works. This one's open, it flows through this one and back through, and then when you turn it off, it breaks the circuit. Okay, so our switch is good, our motor is good. And I'm not gonna plug it in, but you could connect the whole thing up, flip your switch, and the motor should kick on. Be careful because this thing will vibrate right off the table. But I've already run the motor, it runs good. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to set this back up, and I'm going to take the camera off here, and I'm going to show you something and how we're going to do this. All right, now on our shaft of the motor here, we have this little hole here, and it's generally, yeah, here. See that little hole right there? It turns with the shaft. That's an oil hole. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here with a wire brush. I'm going to clean some of this stuff off, but I'm going to apply a healthy amount of oil to that hole, and I believe in here there's another one, but I'll check it real quick. Alrighty, I've got Mr. Oil Can. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to just apply a little bit of oil here to that hole. Of course, it's not coming through yet. There we go. Oops, too much. Missed the hole altogether. Okay, so I've applied a little oil to the hole there. All right. Now, I'm also going to grab hold of this with both hands. It'll take both hands, and I'm going to back and forth to make sure the oil gets on that shaft. Okay? You won't see me do this, but this thing here, it's a tensioner pulley. It will pull back. See that spring? That's what it's for. Okay, I've all done that now. Now, also, as you can see, there's kind of a lot of gunk here. I've got a stiff plastic wire brush, and that shaft is really, really well lubricated now. All right, now, something else I noticed, it kind of sounds, I mean, the motor spins really good, but I can kind of hear some metal on the bearings, which is not uncommon. But the bearings seem to be okay, and I don't really want to take the entire motor apart and risk it not working when I put it back together to do that. So, bearings, you have to take the whole entire motor apart. You have to pull the bearings with a bearing puller, and you have to manually grease them, which it will make your motor run a little bit better. But this one is turning nice and freely, so I'm not really going to bother with it. What I am going to do is I'm going to clean this thing out of all this dust and stuff. And I am going to also, I want you to take a look at this. You know this is old because this is an old case for a capacitor. All right, that's an old capacitor case there. The capacitor sits inside. That's an old capacitor, and amazingly, it still works. But anyway, this is an old motor, but a good one. As you can see over here, this Shopsmith motor is a later model, and this is a 1970s, and the capacitor sits inside this metal housing on the top. And over here, you can't see it, but the new motor that I put on here has an internal capacitor. You can't even see it. So anyway, good news. The good news is that our motor works good. We're going to put this thing back together, and then we're going to start looking at, we're going to run it. First of all, we're going to install it on that thing, and then we're going to turn it on and run it. And we're going to see, we're going to listen to it. I do know this needs some oil here. We're going to listen to the motor and run, and we're going to listen to the bearings, and we're going to see maybe if our bearings need some grease on them, and they probably do, but depending on the sound of them will depend on what I actually do with them. So, okay, I want to show you the inside of the headstock. As you can see, there's not a lot of moving parts in here. This here is the speed control mechanism. It, of course, has a toothed wheel on the inside of this that moves everything. Now, this is one big problem on that one over there. I know it doesn't look like much, but there's something wrong with mine, and I have not been able to figure out what it is. I'm not going to bother this, but as you can see here, there's another, this tension control thing slides along this shaft. This shaft slides in and out, and it controls the speed depending on how tight this connection here is. Now, the Shopsmith is not a DC motor, it's an AC motor. DC motors, low current going through them, they run slow. AC motors, doesn't matter, it has to have a certain amount of current or it won't run. Okay, now, this here is an oil inlet. We are going to oil this. Now, we can't pull on this thing like we did on the motor one that's spring loaded, because this here should not be moved when the motor is off. Okay, so we have to wait till the motor is on, but when the motor does go on and we adjust our speed, we're going to adjust it all the way up and all the way down, and it's going to lubricate the whole shaft. Also, you can see this toothed thing here, and this quill bar here, which is what, you know, feeds the saw in and out and the drill chuck. It's pretty dry. There's nothing in there. So I'm going to put some bearing grease on this and around here. It'll gum it up a little bit, but it'll ensure good operation, no chips or, you know, no conflicts there. So that's really all we need to do at this point to the headstock. This was one super deal. This is really up and running. I'm sure the bearings probably could use some grease, but I'm not going to fool with them, okay? So anyway, I'll get this thing back together. We're going to slip it on along with the tableways and everything, and we'll have a working Shopsmith. One thing I do want to add before I put this thing back together, this motor, the Shopsmith produces a lot of wood dust. This motor was packed with wood dust. I blew it out with compressed air, and you want to be careful, especially around the capacitor. It took about a minute to blow the whole thing out, but it's all blown out now. And, you know, afterwards, you know, I think we're all oiled up there. And also, I blew this out. This had dust all over it. So, anyway, this is in way better shape than that one over there. So, despite being probably more than 20 years older. So, anyway, we are going to put this back together now. Okay, I went ahead, and as you can probably see, I put a little grease in the tooths of that feed bar, and also in the tooths of that wheel there that connects to it, that geared wheel. Now, I'm going to put some in here too. Okay, I just thought of that. Also, you want to check your belt. Now, there is another belt. It's kind of a, I don't know if you can see it or not, probably not, but there's a belt that connects this pulley to the or this big pulley here, this tensioner pulley. Actually, that's not a tensioner pulley, that's a regular pulley. Oh no, that is a tensioner pulley. To the bar, the feed bar. Now, or also check your belts. You know, this belt here is in good shape. I'm gonna have to bolt the motor back to this before I put it on here, because due to the high tension of these things, it's pretty tough to get the belt on the wheel. And if you get the belt on the wheel, it pulls it so far up you can't really get it, you know, bolted onto that. So I'm gonna have to bolt that on again. I'll have to connect my switch back up and mount it up top there. But once that's done, we're ready to slip this back over there on that. Okay, I figured out to get this motor on, I would have to take this off, which required me to take these protection caps off of these component parts here. These are the things that the things like the jigsaw and the jointer hook up to, that powers them, that transfers it directly, the feed directly to the motor, or the power directly from the motor. Now, as you can see here, these bearings, there's two bearings here, and there's 2 or 3 inside the motor. Okay, and these, they probably need to be re-greased, and we can do that. Should I do it? No. Actually, no, I'm not going to. But here we can see this belt here. This is a multi-V belt, and it's black on this one. On later models, it was red. And this, of course, transfers the power from the motor via the speed control up here to this shaft. And there's 2 bearings. There's one here, and then there's another one on the inside of this. But I'm not really going to mess with the... It's interesting, this one is set at 90 degrees, and that's where I set mine over there, and it's not working. Anyway, this is the tightness control of the motor. Here, it adjusts the tension on between this bar and this bar. okay, by the belt. Anyway, I'm going to put the motor on, get it back together. We're going to slide it on there, hook it up, and power it and take a listen to it. One more quick glance at the bearings before I put this whole thing back together and stick it over there on where it's supposed to be. I blew the grease and crud off of here. I would say these bearings probably could use a good grease packing, but here's the problem. To do that effectively, I have to take the whole thing apart. And because I can't really see where the grease, generally when you start smushing grease down in here, it takes a long time. And when you're done, when you start seeing clean grease coming out here, you'll see old cruddy grease being pushed out of the other side of the bearing. But then when the clean grease starts to come through, that's when you've effectively greased it. But this is working now, and I'm going to fall back on the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So anyway, a complete restoration, a labor of love or something like that. But again, I don't want to start jacking with that speed control. So time to put it back together. Okay, I've gotten the bolts back in this thing, and this is the easiest way to do it, is to set it up like this and put the bolts in that way. Also, I have to when I install the belt, I'm going to have to bolt it back on here and then install the belt, bolt the cover back on here. But before I do that, I have to put the switch back on and feed it up there to where I can grab it and thread it in. So I'll do that now. For those not familiar with the acrobatics required to mount a motor on a Shopsmith, this pulley here requires 2 hands to pull up. Now what you have to do is, I had to unbolt the motor, and I had to basically put the belt attached to the top pulley still over this. Then I had to pull up with my hands and maneuver the belt with my free fingers around here. Then when it got in there, I had to pull up again and pull it down to where you can mount the motor screws. Okay, this is crazy, I know, but it's just one of those things that you can spend hours trying to figure out, that this video will help you spend minutes. Okay, we've got everything back together. I will say that mounting the motor, and you're actually attaching the motor to the drive pulley, is probably one of the more frustrating aspects of the whole process. You do it wrong countless times before you actually get a method down to do it right. We haven't touched our speed mechanism. Our switch is in place. Hopefully everything is still connected. Everything looks good. It's time to take that collar off over there, slide it on the machine. But before we do that, we have to install our weighs table here. And I'm going to remove the saw table to make it a lot easier. To do that, basically, here, let's get it over here. All right, to basically do that, we're just gonna bring this up. It's a little bit more difficult here to do, show you. We're gonna tip this up and use this handle to crank this off, and we're just gonna take that cap off and slide it on there. We need to put some grease on all these things to make sure that they work right, and we'll do that right now. Okay, I've removed it. Now, before we mount this, we will remove the cap and mount it on there. Before we do that, though, we want to spray these insides here with WD-40, and it will allow really smooth operation on there. Also, remember, I'm going to grease the tooths. Let me see if I can flip it around. You can see those teeth there. I'm going to put grease in them. Motor mounting can be really a two-person job. I'm going to attempt to do it on my own. Okay, I kind of had to put a ladder in there. Putting that carriage slide on, I didn't want to go on at first. There was lots of stuff blocking it, but once I got on, it slid right into place. We're going to WD-40 these guide holes on each side, all of them, and then we're going to slide it in. Okay, I've got everything on. Everything is tight, And I reinstalled the protective caps on these two accessory shafts and tighten this plate back up here. Alright, the only thing we need to do now is plug it in and see how it works. We're going to do that right now. Okay, says the earthquake stops. We're going to go ahead and turn it on. It's on a low setting, so... Baby is back, yeah. All right, now that's what I wish that one over there would do. This thing here is ready to rock and roll. We just got a little lube to do here and there on some of the accessory connections, but this sucker is as powerful as the day it rolled off the assembly line. That's what I love about Shopsmiths. I'm telling you what, a Shopsmith Mark V like this is serious workshop muscle. This is 5 tools in one, and I'm telling you what, this is a beast. Thanks for watching the video. We're gonna have some more fun with this when I hook up some of the accessories that I've never played with, like the joiner and the jigsaw. So I'll see you around. Okay, I went ahead and I applied grease to these tubes. Also, there's a toothed wheel on each side over there that catches these. And I applied grease to those too. Also, I'm going to hit this with a little WD-40 just to make sure it slides really well. I don't want stuff too greased up, and I'm going to go over with the paper towel. But basically, this sucker is ready to rock and roll. All right. Like and subscribe if you like my station and you like my work and stuff. So, you know, adjacent shop, we are all about old good tools and things, and this is definitely one of the best. Foley bell saw, there's one over there, and Shopsmith are right close to my heart. I love these things. I saw them in ads growing up, could never afford them, and now people are basically giving them away. These things are some of the best made and most accurate woodworking and metalworking tools I've ever come across my entire life. I mean, this is just, ooh, get chills thinking about this, man. This is an awesome machine. And what is gonna transpire on this machine in weeks to come, you know, and months and years. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take a little wire brush and I'm gonna clean the table up here a little bit, and I might hook up a saw blade and saw some wood. So, again, hit like and subscribe if you like this, and I'll see you in more videos. Bye-bye.